Earth gives birth to life, nourishes everything. It is the unique environment that human beings depend on. We need to do more to protect our green home. At Absen, we have always been a strong advocate for the sustainable development of products and going green. We believe we should do more actions to protect the Earth. More standards, less contamination. Absen's raw materials and devices use high-standard international brands, which can pass the test and evaluation of relevant laws, regulations, and directives to ensure a solid foundation for safety, energy saving, and environmental protection. More detail, less damage. The energy-saving design adopted by Absen products reduces the heat and the heat dissipation burden. The mainstream products adopt a fanless, muted design, which can reduce the sound pressure of working. In terms of visual effects, Absen adopts automatic brightness adjustment technology, high grayscale correction technology, and luminous fog surface treatment technology to prevent the LED display from being too bright and effectively solve the problems of glare. More quality, less consumption. Through common cathode low-voltage power supply technology, we choose high-efficiency power supply, high-efficiency LED comprehensive heat dissipation design to make the product energy consumption lower. More preservation, less damage. Absen products use blue light protection, which can effectively protect the viewer's eyes. Our mainstream products simultaneously meet a number of domestic and international electromagnetic compatibility Class A industrial standards, and some even reach Class B civil standards. It can prevent radiation hazards to the human body and ensure human health. More efficiency, less emissions. In 2021, Absen's Intelligent Manufacturing Base passed the ISO 5001 Energy Management System certification. The baseline energy consumption was reduced by 12.8% compared with that in 2020. More responsibility, less concern. Absen has always fulfilled its corporate social responsibility. We will continue to pay attention to the environment and personal health, strictly implement the requirements of environmental protection, and promote environmental protection work. In the future, we will also strive to complete the industry standards and promote the healthy and sustainable development of the industry. Protect the environment starts from you and me, Absen Green, as the Earth deserves.
So welcome, everybody, to this latest Absen Roundtable discussion. The theme of today's roundtable is sustainability. And of course, that's a hot topic at the moment, isn't it, for the AV industry, and really understandably so. In Absen, we share the concern for the environment and the future of our planet. And for that reason, we've organised today's roundtable. We're really excited to have with us three major international companies, either from or strongly linked to the AV industry. We're delighted to have Roger Marshall, who's the Chief Engineer of Global Media. We have Ignacio Alonso, the Commercial and Strategy Director of the Trisson Group, and Doris Lee, who is a Global Key Account Director in Absen, and she's also heavily involved in Absen's green strategy. So welcome to the three of you today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. We're really grateful for that. So what I'd like to do to begin is invite the three of you maybe to introduce your respective companies, just very briefly, just to put a bit of context to our discussion today. So maybe Roger, you could tell us a little bit about Global.
Yes, good morning, and thanks, Ben. So Global is very much, we have very much two sides of our business. We're based here in the UK and have some regional businesses across Europe. And we have two sides of our business. We have an audio business, so a radio business, and also an outdoor business. And that's a great format and media for being able to communicate great ideas across our portfolio. And I sit within the outdoor business, and my role within Global is to ensure that we specify the correct product and also purchase the correct product as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Roger. What about Ignacio? Could you tell us a little bit about Trisson?
Yeah, good morning to everybody. So, I mean, Trisson is the biggest integrator in Europe, and I would say that is one of the biggest. We are in the top 5 biggest in the world, no? So we are integrating audiovisual systems all over the world. We've got operations in 112 countries, no? And we are placed in different sectors, no? So our major came from retail, but also now we are very well placed as well in automotive, for transport, in public transportation as well, corporate, education, and so on. No? And the thing is that we are deploying projects from A to Z. No? So we start from the concept design, from the digital design, the digital concept, and the digital journey, and so on. We do also the implementation, the installation of the hardware, the integration as well with the corporate software. So we choose the correct software, and we do the maintenance as well. No? So during all the life cycle of the installation, we keep an eye on the installation, and we keep them running.
Excellent, perfect. Thank you, Ignacio. And Doris, could you explain to us a little bit about Absen as well, please?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Doris from Absen, and we are the top LED display solution provider. We have overseas, we have 14 subsidiaries globally. And in fact, for our roundtable today, I'm so happy to join because in fact, I'm also promoting Absen Green globally. And I think maybe you already saw some Absen Green promoting the Absen Green statement. So I'm so happy to join and hope to have more topics we can talk today. Thank you, Ben.
Excellent. Thank you, Doris. So let's begin a question to start off with then. I'm going to start with Ignacio, if that's okay. You've just mentioned that Trisson is an industry-leading global systems integrator, and you work in lots of sectors, but retail would be one of the stronger ones. Are you noticing more concern from them regarding sustainability?
Yeah, totally. It's not a trend, it's an actual situation. No? So just to give you some examples, no? Some of our customers, when they are posting on LinkedIn the latest installation, they receive 2-3 comments, no, from all of them regarding sustainability. No? That the customers or people that are asking how sustainable is the installation. No? Also, I mean, as an internal initiative that are implementing, big corporations are implementing like 360 initiatives, no, with solar panels, with energy saving, all the waste management and so on. And they have included as well the things that we do, no, inside the sustainability strategy. No? So that's pretty important, and it appears in all the tenders that, for example, we are involved. No,
right.
It has a very strong sustainable accent, I would say.
Which is a reasonably new thing, right? 3 or 4 years ago, it wasn't quite so important, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a question of that during the last 2-3 years, we have seen that this is getting more and more normal, no?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Well, what about you, Roger? For the GOH or for the kind of media industry, are you noticing more concern in the industry about sustainability?
Of course, and similar to Ignacio, every tender that we see, there is an environmental scoring and environmental section, and it's really absolutely key for us. Not only it is being driven by our clients, but it's being driven by our own business as well. We've taken very much a total cost of ownership approach to our products, and that shines through in our purchasing considerations as well. And as we see, for me, it's about buying the right product. So the right product with the right longevity, and ensuring that as a whole business, we're not adversely affecting the environment. But in each decision, in each purchase that we make, in each tender we make, and it is very much integral to that decision.
Fine, excellent. Thank you, Roger. So maybe if I could come to you again, Roger. Doris told me previously that some of the leading outdoor companies in France, for example, they're committed to programs. There's one called the Citizens Climate Convention and another one called RE100. So in the UK, as a UK-based company, are Global or the OOH industry in general committing to similar programs?
Yeah, there is a very similar program. There's AdNet Zero that we have joined. And we're really clear on that, and we're, that really commits us to making sure that we're on a trajectory so that by 2030, we've reduced our impact negatively to the environment, and that's an advertising industry aware scheme. So yes, it's very similar.
Okay, great. And I think probably, Doris, on a similar line, really, because most of the global key accounts that you manage are multinational companies from the DOH industry. So are you noticing a similar thing from them, concern about sustainability? What kind of concerns might they have?
Yes, indeed. In fact, there are many companies come to me and tell me that they already set the carbon neutrality as their company level strategy. So it's pretty important for them to get less carbon. And so from the customer base to Absen as a supplier part, then what we need to do is support them to get less carbon products, which means they need to change the raw materials to support them get carbon emission. And meanwhile, they also need to, we as LED suppliers support them on two aspects of things. One aspect is that how to calculate the carbon emission. Yeah, and so I don't know whether Europe already have a very mature way to do the calculation, but in China, in fact, it's just the beginning. So for us, it's a little bit challenge at this moment for this aspect. And another aspect is to get less energies, to get energy saving products for them. So for this part, I think we are doing well, and we are still working to do that and improve to be better. So we have common cathode, this kind of technology to reduce the power consumption. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Joyce. I think we'll come back to that in a few minutes, because I think all of us will be interested in knowing what's actually happening in China as well, because it's really going to influence what's happening in the rest of the world. And it's a bit of, probably I would say in the industry, a concern as well. So in a few minutes, I've got a few more questions for you on that. But just for a moment, I'd like to come back to Ignacio, because we've mentioned the concerns that retailers and others have. So have you been requested to help them in any way with sustainability goals, or have you been able to do anything to maybe push this?
Yeah, the thing is that historically we are a super certified company, no? So the thing is that we count on many, for example, of many ISOs. We've got the 1401 that is related with environmental management systems. So we have been working with under this certification for many years. No, now we are working on the OSHAs, and we are working on different certifications that complement this one. No? And just to follow certain standards. No, on the other hand, also we are driving internal. We've got internal initiatives. One of them is to measure the panels, the power consumption, but also the heat dissipation and so on. No? We have already done previously as well, not on environmental focus, but we have done a special development for our panel, for example. No? And we are coming in the middle of an initiative in order to develop a new panel, more sustainable panel with case electronics and so on. No? And that's something that we are doing in coordination, for example, with you guys. No? On another point as well, we've got a carbon footprint calculator. No? So we develop internally as well a carbon footprint calculator. So we are able to calculate, and to make some comparisons. For example, how many flights from Paris to New York represent to produce a screen and install in Paris, for example. No? So we have already developed a carbon footprint calculator that is quite useful, right, in order to give us some figures, certain comparisons about the impact, that we go to the environment with our digital solutions.
Yeah, interesting. There's so many things to take into account, right, in those calculations and things. It's not just simply where do the materials come from. It's an important element, but at the same time, that especially in, I guess, fast fashion as well, where there are just lots of logistics involved, and with a carbon footprint, it's always going to have that.
Exactly. Something can change in the moment. It's a bit tricky, But just to give you an example, For example, because when you are manufacturing something, you are using green energy. It seems that the carbon footprint is zero. It's a tricky thing, I would say, It's something that we try to calculate this from scratch, and afterwards we try to just to have the big figure, And from that point, try to decrease it based on different things that happen or can happen during the process, that can impact the process. But it's quite surprising the number and the figures that may arise, in the calculation.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And it's interesting to see the kind of proactive side of that as well, not just reacting to it, but actually proactively making efforts to improve on that. And that leads me to Roger, really, because I understand from what we were mentioning before, you have a global goodness report. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that initiative.
Yeah, and this is really how our ecosystem works as a business. So the 2021 report very much just runs through our commitment to the environment as well. And we've made commitments such as zero to landfill, recycling, ethically sourced materials. And as part of our business, we are a consumer. So our electronic panels, all the LED and LCD panels all use electricity, as do our warehouses. And we've done the initial thing. We reduced our carbon footprint by 58% in that last year by transferring on to renewables. And Ignacio said, that still comes with a cost to the environment, but we've moved away from those fossil fuels. But it also sets out our commitment as a business. And we believe really strongly that it's an ecosystem that will drive sustainability and climate change. And that runs through the very backbone of our business. And it goes across, supporting local public sectors. 40% of our revenues go towards public sector. So that's improving infrastructure, that's making sure that people have got great bus stops, great buses, the buses are newer. So all of that good stuff. So that's 40% of our revenues goes through there. Mm-hmm. We're investing in our people, in our diversity. Ultimately, we think and thoroughly believe that a diverse business ensures that we get different views, different cultural views that we can take on board and really kind of harness that. And last but not least is very much our Green at Global. And within my part of the business, within that product and assets business, we've already got 9 green work streams. So it very much runs through the core of our business, from investing in our people, making sure our workplaces are right. What we've seen over the last few 2 years with COVID is that change in working practices. We're open also to working from home, scheduling meetings like we are today. So to overall just reduce that and make our global really a place that inspires and is somewhere that's really open and you can make decisions and throw ideas into the pot to make a better business.
Well, I think first of all, we should all say congratulations to you and the global team for all the things that you're doing and all of those initiatives. I think maybe when Doris and I first discussed this roundtable, we were concerned with what actually is happening in the industry. What are we be able to bring to the table here. But listening to those kind of comments, both from yourself and from Ignacio as well, it's really interesting to hear that proactivity, that proactive side of things as well. And I think now I'd like to address what in English we would say is the elephant in the room, which would mean maybe something obvious in the background that nobody wants to talk about. But I think, Doris, it's time for us to do that. Could you tell us about China? Could you tell us about the current situation for carbon neutrality and how it affects businesses and maybe government policies and things like that?
Yeah, thank you, Ben. First, I would like to explain for China's strategy or the target. In China, the peak carbon dioxide emission year is 2030, and the carbon neutrality is 2060. And right now, we totally have 8 carbon trading markets in China. And in China, we only have the constrained industry can join the carbon trading market. There are, should say, 8 big industries and 18 small industries. So, but right now, LED display is not in these industries. Yeah, so we're not constrained the industry to do carbon trading or carbon neutrality. So for us, it's not in China carbon neutrality policy. Yeah, but for these industries, the 8 big industry and 18 small industry, they need to follow China carbon neutrality strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And so for companies like Absen, we are not in these industries. What we can do is that we can do the part which we're willing to do, then we can invest on that. And so in Absen, we already set a specific project team work on the carbon neutrality. It is a big part of this reason come from that Absen is quite strong for overseas business. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of requests from our clients is that they need our support to do this. And so we also join a lot of forum, a lot of conference regarding to carbon neutrality in China. And we are also trying to step on different steps on how to support our clients on carbon neutrality. I think the first step is that we can provide the product BOM list, part of the BOM list, to help our clients to do the carbon neutrality, carbon emission calculation. And that is the first step. And second step is our internally, as I said before, that so we have a specific team working on the carbon neutrality. Then the second step should be we ourselves to do the calculation in China. Yeah, and so we are working on this way. And but currently it's still not that easy for us to do it, because in China the progress is still slower than European countries. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Doris. I think I'm kind of involved a little bit in the background in a few of those initiatives, and I know how much hard work goes into that as well. And I think we need to be honest here. The eyes of the world are on China, and to see what's going to be happening with that as well. And we also know probably the positive side is that when the Chinese government says something's going to be done, it's going to be done as well. So it would be interesting to see how that kind of evolves over the next months and years as well. So we look forward to be kept up to date really with that side of things. Thank you for explaining that to us. Just coming back to Ignacio with Tristan for a minute then. I think in our discussion today, we've highlighted that so many different things are involved in kind of green issues, let's say, or sustainability. What are the biggest challenges that you find when it comes to meeting those issues?
Yeah, the thing is that under the hardware point of view, for example, all the suppliers are I'm very involved, no, in fact, and I think that there is a kind of coordination. Also, there is something is an important part is the service, no, or the after sales, no, the service that we are giving to the customers, no. Why? Because first of all, we are we got tools like telecontrol, like the management of the screens, on all the systems, and so on. So we can predict some failures in order to, to save time. The lifetime of the hardware is getting longer in the moment that we are maintaining correctly, no? And also the troubleshooting would be also much faster and easier in the moment that we are paying attention to the current installations, no? So that's an important point. Also the adaptation, no? For example, during the COVID, we had some examples of customers that they wanted us to decrease, for example, the brightness of the screens, no? Because they wanted to keep them switch it out, no? But they decided for energy consumption and so on, they decided to decrease the brightness, no? So for us, it's important, first of all, to really manage all the installations in real time, we say, no, and to have full control of what's going on. No, just to give you another example, in a recent installation that we did, we detected, no, just in the 2 days of the installation, that one of the panels that we installed it was very for sure that it's going to be a problematic panel, no, because it was overheating and so on, no, to the location that it was installed, no. So in that moment we took some decisions with the customers in order to avoid these failures, no. So avoiding this, we are avoiding people sending people, so we are avoiding trucks, people moving, no, and so on. So we try to do everything. First, the first action is remotely, no, and the second one is of course send someone as soon as possible, no, and keep the problem solved, no, because the lifetime as well of the installations are longer in that regard, no?
Yeah.
So that's an important part for us, no, and also the control management system that we've got from of the installation, no?
Correct. I think this is a discussion that came up recently, both sides of it. I think the remote access one is really important in retail because naturally you've got very tight SLA agreements, and I'm sure and in DOOH even more so because there's money coming off the content that's on the screens, and so they're going to say it's not working. You need to be here, and you need to be here in 2 hours, and so just the logistics of doing that, but to be able to probably solve 90% of issues, or at least diagnose the issue beforehand, saves a lot of energy, let's say, and does lower the carbon footprint. These are things that I think sometimes go forgotten probably as well. And I think, yes, go on.
The thing is that we are always thinking about the hardware, that is an important piece, but I think that we are doing our job in the hardware, no? As Doris was mentioning, that there are many initiatives regarding that, no, but the rest of the process, no, is very important to understand how it's working and how we can do it more efficiently and in fact properly, no?
Yeah, exactly. I was in a similar roundtable in the United States recently, and something came up there, and it reminded me of Tristan, that if a customer reduces the screen to 30, 40, 50% brightness in given conditions when they're allowed to do so, not only is it lowering the consumption of that screen, which is hugely important, but it's also prolonging the life of that screen as well. And okay, LED naturally, it does have a long lifetime anyway, but it means that a 5 or 6 year old screen can then be shifted from one location to maybe an emerging market and reused there because it's still a perfectly valid screen. It's just older technology perhaps. And I think that kind of thing LED is great for that, to be honest.
No. For sure, but, that's for sure. That's why we are not using. We are using high quality products, no, because we realized many times that it was much better because first of all, the quality is related with the brightness is related with the experience, no, and it's very related with energy consumption, heat dissipation. Also, guys, that we are working as well on the structures, no, to make the product lighter. So we are using less materials, no, less raw materials and so on. No? So that's really important to really understand what is the best product, no? Or it has an impact on the next years.
Exactly. And I think probably, Roger, this coincides with what you and I were talking beforehand as well about the selection of products, right?
Yeah, totally agree. We're completely on the same page. For us, intelligent solutions. Ignacio was saying about the reduction in power and making panels fix quicker. Also, you've got the bolt on it. If you're not having to go to a panel, you're not sending a van. There's no CO2 attached to that. So it really is that total cost of ownership life cycle piece, and it's absolutely key to our decision making. Within the purchasing strategy that we've got, and it does come back to power. As we know, the LED screens, when we've got 48 sheets, 96 sheets and bigger across our estate, with some three or 450 panels now across the estate, there's a lot of power consumption needed. So we make physical choices about power consumption and the product choices. So it's a total cost of ownership model. We ensure that the products are value engineered. So we're putting exactly the right amount of concrete in the ground. The steels are exactly the right size. They're to the right quality, so that we're then not going back out to site. And ultimately, the hardware, the screen hardware, has to be right. So we're buying for the right duration. We're buying the right warranties to back up to make sure that we're not having to replace those products, and they're repairable, and their life cycle is much longer. And it is a long-term gain, because ultimately, if you see a 5-year product and you extend it to a 7-year product, it takes 10, 15, 20 years to get that back. But ultimately, you've got to be making the right choice. It isn't about making a choice, it's about making the right informed choice today. And that for us, we firmly believe, is buying the right product, partnering with product partners, so that you can build a long-term relationship and actually be on the forefront of technology. So partners want to share information with you, so that you can both harness the advances in technology, and ensuring them that they're intelligent solutions, so we're not running vans across the estate. And we really get to a longer term, better solution, because ultimately, there's a cost when you dispose of a unit as well. So, and all of that has to be disposed of. So actually, if we're not buying as many units, it's the whole life cycle. As we know, transport from China is a big decision point, and that's actually that's impacting decisions for us. So for me, totally agree. It is, it's a whole life cycle product. We've got to be making the right choices. And that really then plays into, for us, we're also 14,001, but we're 15,001. So we've got an environmental energy management system in place as well. So all of these key factors can feed into that and make sure that we make the right decisions.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And to be honest, it's going to be remiss of me if I don't do this. I think from a commercial perspective, I need to mention that in Absen, we're very proud of our product offering because of the low consumption. We're industry leading in our outdoor products and our indoor products as well. And one thing that's important for me to highlight to anybody watching would be the care that you need to take in the selection of products, and don't make the decisions over a specification sheet that you've been sent in an email, because there can be a big variation between what happens in a specification sheet and what happens in real life as well. And probably it's good to do your own testing and things on that. And when I've got, well, Trisson was one customer that did their own testing on our panels and discovered that the consumption was actually slightly lower than we were saying on our specification sheet as well. So I think that kind of thing is really important to bear in mind in an industry with thousands of manufacturers and no real legislation and no real, let's say, certification on things that from an environmental perspective. I'd like to come back to you, Roger, for a minute as well, because you showed us before the global goodness report that you have, and we can see how quite rightly that you're becoming demanding in that regard. So for a lot of DOOH installations, you work with display manufacturers like us, or systems integrators and other third parties as well. Are there specific environmental sustainability standards that they have to comply to so that they can work with you?
Yeah, we have a system in place where we have to approve contractors, and each of the contractors have as you would understand and expect, a contract with us. And yes, they have to comply with our same goals as well. So very much sustainability, zero to landfill is all what we're talking about. And we're talking to those very same suppliers to ensure that the solutions they provide are the right solutions, and ensuring that we make the right decisions, and making sure that there's the correct number of parts and everything is managed. There's a whole management system that sits behind our business, and with our maintenance company, and that's really key to us to make sure that we've got efficiencies. So we've very much got hubs with virtual warehouses, ensuring that everyone is we know where all the kit is, and those contractors and integrators that we deal with are then very much aware of our obligations as well. And something that we're just about we'll be rolling out as well is we'll be having a contractor forum as part of Global, ensuring that all of our contractors and our supplier days ensure that everyone knows what they need to achieve and how we can support them to achieve that as well. Because ultimately, it's why we're on this very much this roundtable today, is the partnerships that you have actually build really strong businesses and strong relationships, and that's what you need to make sure that everyone is really on a level playing field. Because I think, as you mentioned, Ben, it's very difficult when you're trying and you strive to be the best, and sustainability is really an absolute key point for you. But when you've got smaller players in the industry that don't quite agree to the same, and ultimately, there would appear to be an upfront cost to making the sustainable decisions, but actually it's a long-term gain that we're all in. And that's where I think where we can the honesty within the product portfolios, and we can ensure that actually there is a level playing field, and we can stand firm behind our beliefs and our partnerships to make sure that we're delivering what is truly a sustainable business for the future.
It's interesting because I think also it reminds me of the responsibility that we have as a manufacturer as well, because we form part of that ecosystem. We're the bottom of the chain essentially, but we're still an important part of it. So I'd like to go back to Doris for a moment, because as a Chinese manufacturer, we've set this Absen Green initiative then. So what does that really mean?
Thank you, Ben. So first, after our roundtable, so in May, we will launch our Absen Green statement. In this statement, it will have a very clear explaining what Absen Green is. So here I want to give you a little bit information about that. In fact, it covers 6 standards and 1 Absen corporate corporate social responsibility. So for the 6 standards, we include safety standards, technical standards, quality standards, health standards, environmental standards. So which means we go to different aspects to make sure Absen Green happen. Then I take some example for you to understand it easier. So in fact, for sustainability, it is already part of Absen corporate responsibility. We have done a lot of things to realize it. Then for the factory aspects, we have done the ISO 45001 2018 OSAS occupation health and safety management system. We also have the ISO 14001 2015 for environmental management certification. Meanwhile, we also invested millions of US dollars on the IT system to realize the paperless office. And for the energy saving aspects, we are focused on reduce the power consumption of our product, like our new A series or H product. We use the latest technology to reduce the 20 to 40% of the power consumption. And then for the raw materials aspects, we are tending to use the recycle metal and plastic, those materials to realize our sustainability strategy. So that's just a part of what we are doing right now, just to give you an idea how Absen Green is.
Yeah, thank you, Doris. And we look forward as well in the next kind of weeks and months to getting more information about that. It's an exciting thing to be involved with. I'm going to be honest with you here, Doris, as well, and forgive me for saying it, but for those of us that are on the other side of the world from China, there is a concern that sometimes it's quite easy to put a sticker in the corner of a screen and write the word green on it. And it's really important for us to understand that they're actually, from Absen's perspective, there are really proactive things, real tangible things that are happening and that we're doing as well. And we look forward to finding out more about that. And it kind of leads me to the next question as well. I'll come back to Ignacio for a minute. What more can AV manufacturers like us, like Absen, do to improve and support you in this regard?
Now everything. No, faster. See if I produce faster, please. No, no. The thing is that we have been collaborating during the last 10 years, very closely, and I think we understand between each other very nice. No? So the thing is that keep the relationship and try to advance part of the trends that are in the market. No, and so the thing is that regarding sustainability, we are reacting now, no, but it's something that is gonna move really, really fast in the coming years. No, so probably. We will ask you for some agility, no, in order to face all the requirements that we come to the market. No, we were saying that previously that there are already many standards and so on, but I'm pretty sure that in the coming years, more sustainable standards will arrive. No, and we need from your side to cover this as soon as possible. No, not even some research in order to be more energy saving than the rest of the market, but also to react to some requirements that will appear for sure in the coming months and years. No?
I think it's perfectly fair to ask us for that as well. And it was interesting what Doris was saying before about kind of Chinese government setting targets and things. I'm sure that will kind of naturally become a bit faster. Maybe the same question to you, Roger, if you don't mind me asking. What would you need from somebody like Absen to improve in this?
Well, I think that's really interesting, actually, because as a business, we've got over 100 of your screens across our estate that are coming to the end of their life. I mean, actually, it's really how you guys can help us. To dispose of those items correctly, and equally then to supply newer, more efficient kit. For me, it is a constant merry-go-round for me. It's that total cost of ownership, that total life cycle. So if you guys can make it easier for us to do business by making sure that you've got a sustainable approach, you're a much larger business than we are, right? Yes, we are. We're number one in the UK. However, we haven't got the scale that you guys have on product. So how can you make sure that your product is the most efficient? Similar to Ignacio, how do I make sure that you're efficient? But it's making sure also that your supply chain is efficient. So as we were saying, as I said earlier about our ecosystem, what about your ecosystem? So ensuring that your supply chain is really robust and your workforce are really well looked after. And then how you ship, how you containerize, how you bring things in, because we've seen that increasing in cost. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years with shipping, and actually, how do you make that shipping process? You manufacture in China, we're over here in Europe. That's quite a distance away. How do you make that as efficient as possible? So I suppose for me, there's the whole supply chain piece that you guys need to demonstrate that you're buying the right products, you're buying and you're producing as lean as you possibly can be. But then also at the end of life, how about you guys deal with electronics as a business and disposal and building of them. You guys know how to dispose of them well. Help us out a bit on that, yeah?
Yeah.
So make that whole life cycle piece a little bit easier and doing business easier.
Again, perfectly valid, a very reasonable thing to request as well. And I think we have a responsibility as Absen to make sure that we continue to be industry leading in these things and proactive and do things that others don't do. And I think we really value your comments on that and your suggestions. They need to form part of Absen Green. That needs to be one of the things that we do. I think that's perfectly fair. I sorry, please. Yeah.
For us as well, of course, we're actually different within out of home. We're not just out of home, we're also audio. So we've got this amazing portfolio to be able to communicate with people, and by ensuring that the supply chain is right. We've got an audio business. We've got reporters at COP26. We've got audio. We've got the outdoors. So we've got channel way to reach people, and it's amazing business to be involved in, and equally to be able to drive the sustainability piece going forward.
Yeah, thank you. Just one final question for you to finish, Roger, if you don't mind, because I think it's really relevant as well. And we need to talk about it. What's been the financial impact on Global in setting and complying new sustainability or green initiatives?
Well, I think all of it does come at a cost, but ultimately it's driving better business. So we've seen some really challenging times, haven't we, of recent COVID, world politics and challenges that we have as well at the minute. So there is a cost to it, but we see all of those costs being benefit to our businesses, and those costs are driven out. So whether it's by us buying new fleet of vehicles to ensure that they are the most efficient, and we have electric vehicles as well, through to changing our office layout and our office structure. So there is a cost to it, but we see that cost is well and truly worth it. But ultimately, we're buying. The other cost is the physical side of things. We're potentially within the supply chain for screen technology, we ensure that the screens that we purchase are the most efficient we believe in the marketplace, and that does come at a cost. But actually, with the cost of electric, as we all know, becoming more and more expensive, actually, that total cost of ownership, sorry to mention it yet again, but that is the way that we have to approach it, is actually, you buy cheap, you buy twice. And for me, it's very much that, Jason Cottrell kind of leads as Chief Operating Officer, and also Mark Bloomfield from a commercial transformation perspective. We all recognise there's a cost to it, but it's the right decision to make, and that is the true cost. So yes, our products that we buy might well be a little bit more expensive if we can't get them down to as less as the others, but they might make up for it in their total cost of ownership going forward, and that's from a power and intelligence perspective as well. Absolutely.
I think that's a nice place for us to finish today, actually, Roger. Thank you for those words. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Ignacio, and thank you, Doris. I think it's been really valuable, really interesting to see how three important players involved in the AV industry from three very different sectors have demands from their customers or from the market in terms of sustainability, but also how proactive the three companies are as well. Because the truth is that sustainability is only going to be achieved if we are proactive and if we work together and we have a common goal. And it's really important to have discussions like this one today. So if anyone watching today would like to know more about Absen or Global or Trisson, well, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be delighted to hear your comments, to know your opinions, to hear your needs, your suggestions as well. And I'd like to thank again my guests today. So we look forward to seeing how the AV industry evolves, how it adapts over the coming months and years to meet these really important sustainability criteria. So thanks again and see you all soon.